This is a Level 2 lesson over the reproductive system and embryo development. This is Human Body Steps 4 and 6. By the end of this lesson, you will know the purpose of the reproductive system, the parts of both the female and male reproductive system, and you will know the factors that can impact embryo development. The purpose of the reproductive system. There are two purposes of the reproductive system. One purpose is to produce something called sex cells. In a female, the sex cell is called an egg. In a male, the sex cell is called a sperm. The other purpose of the reproductive system is to create a new organism. Female parts. There are 4 female parts that we will focus on. The first one is called ovaries. Ovaries are where egg cells are released during something called ovulation. Now we'll talk about ovulation on the next slide. Fallopian tubes. Fallopian tubes are tubes that connect the ovaries to the uterus. Uterus. The uterus is an organ that lines with blood, and the reason it does this is to prepare for something called a fertilized egg. And I'll talk about fertilized on the next slide. The uterus is also the place where the baby develops. Vagina. This is a place where the blood leaves the body during a process called menstruation, which I will talk about on the next slide. Here are other terms that I mentioned on the previous slide that you're going to need to know. Ovulation. Ovulation is the process of the ovary releasing an egg into the fallopian tube. The egg is considered mature and ready to be fertilized. Fertilization is when the egg cell and the sperm cell join together to create one new cell called a zygote. This zygote will then divide into a new organism. Menstruation. Menstruation is when blood and tissue from the lining of the uterus break down and exit the body. Menstruation happens when an egg is not fertilized. The egg will leave the body along with the blood and tissue from the lining of the uterus. Male parts. There are 4 male parts that you are expected to know. The first part is called testes. The testes are the place where sperm is produced. Sperm duct. This is similar to the fallopian tube because it's a tube that connects the testes to the urethra of the penis. Urethra. This is the tube in the penis that sperm travels through. The urethra is also shared with the bladder, meaning this is the place where urine exits the body as well. Penis. This is the organ that allows sperm to travel out of the body. The urethra is in the penis. Embryo development. These are some terms that you're going to need in order to understand the effects of embryo development. Zygote. A zygote is simply a fertilized egg. Embryo. Once the egg is fertilized, it divides and attaches to the uterus wall. We call it an embryo during the first 8 weeks of development. Placenta. The placenta is tissue that connects the mother and the baby and allows a supply of oxygen and food to the baby. The placenta also helps get rid of waste. Alcohol, chemicals from smoke, and drugs can pass to the embryo through the placenta. So it's very important how the mother treats herself during pregnancy. Fetus. The fetus is what we call a mature embryo. So once the embryo is 8 weeks or older, we call it a fetus. At this point, it starts to look a little bit more like a baby. Umbilical cord. The umbilical cord connects the fetus to the placenta. This is to aid in getting oxygen, food, and getting rid of waste between the baby and the mother. That was the Level 2 lesson on the reproductive system and embryo development.